Hello and welcome back to the Thought Leader Recruiter podcast. I'm Sam Bylett and today I'm joined by Tim Murphy, President at Career Paths Northwest. Tim, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Pleasure to have you to be here.
What's your focus then? Who are you typically working with?
Yeah, absolutely. So CareerPass is a contingency recruiting firm. We only do full-time permanent placement. We were founded in 2008 by a man named by Andre Taylor. And in 2010, I came on board and became a partner, and we've grown ever since then. I would say that we focus mostly on the forgotten economy. I'm out here in Seattle, and a lot of these people think that tech is the only job market that exists. But we focus on a market outside of tech. So we do a lot of work with construction companies, building material suppliers, industrial part suppliers, machinery suppliers. We deal with a lot of mechanical contractors. And then we also dabble with some recent grad programs as well, too. So almost no tech. Out in Seattle with no tech is actually pretty crazy. And so
Right.
we've done very well without that business.
What other shifts are you seeing out there? I'm thinking like remote work, salary transparency. How's all that changing the game?
Yeah, remote work was very popular, obviously, during COVID. It was pretty much unheard of up until that point. And I would say ever since then, it's kind of been just slowly declining. In the tech space, again, a space that I don't heavily recruit in, it's a little bit more common for the type of clients that we work with. You're not going to see too much remote work. We do deal with a lot of remote sales positions, home based offices, but in general, we're seeing the shift of people moving back to the office.
Yeah, interesting. There's a number been floating about recently. Around 76% of hiring managers say attracting top talent is harder than it's ever been. Uh,
Yeah.
how do you help your clients actually stand out and win those people over?
Yeah, so our business is a little bit unique in that most of our interactions actually start with us reaching out to a client with a candidate. And that's how we actually get a lot of our business. So most of our relationships start with a good candidate right off the bat. And so I think it sends a good impression to the employer and it allows us to solve a problem or show our ability to solve a problem pretty much immediately. As far as attracting talent, CareerPass is in a really good situation. I've got more searches than I could ever possibly handle right now. And so it's really about picking and choosing the opportunities that are going to be the easiest to recruit for. So whether that be someone's offering a remote opportunity, somebody is offering kind of a advanced salary for the type of position, or maybe a full benefit package for an entire family. Those are the opportunities that are going to be easier for us to source and or poach somebody from the competitor. And so typically we're focusing on those. So the ones who play the hardest actually get the best candidates. Yeah. Paradoxically, our biggest problem at our company would be finding people to handle those searches. So you would think a recruiting firm would just be excellent and adept at acquiring its own talent, but it actually happens to be the same challenge that we solve for clients as the same challenge that we have internally.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I hear a lot on these podcasts that there is a huge talent shortage. Do you think that there is a talent shortage, or just companies just not? Are they just stuck in the old ways of doing things? Would you say?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it depends on the industry. So I've been recruiting since pre 2008. Prior to 2008, when the big financial crisis happened in the United States and I'm sure around the world, recruiting was a lot different. It seemed to me, and again, it's anecdotal, that employers were more open to candidates who came from a different background, but maybe had a transferable skill set, similar behaviors, or just raw potential. Post 2008, and even increasingly more, it seems to be very specialized. Most of our searches are people asking for a left-handed heavyweight that, hails from the land of Narnia, and there's two available candidates in the entire United States. So I'm not entirely sure that it's a change in the candidate pool so much it is in the psychology of the hiring on the client side, where they're looking for a significantly more specialized candidate, which I get. And in my world, our fees are pretty enormous. 20 to 25% is a hefty fee to add on top of a hire. And so I could see why our employer clients are saying, hey, bring me someone with product knowledge, bring me someone with knowledge of my customers, or someone from a direct competitor, because I don't want to pay to train and pay a fee at the exact same time. But prior to 2008, it wasn't that way. I had some candidates I remember who were cell phone salespeople who were able to enter into business to business sales as an entry level account executive, and employers were thrilled to hire them just based on the fact that they had good energy. And so again, I'm not sure if it's the clients that have changed or if it's the candidates that have changed, but to me, anecdotally, it seems like employer clients are just becoming more specialized.
Yeah, yeah, sure. It's an interesting take. I wanted to talk about kind of employee branding now. Is that really important to you? What's the biggest mistake you see companies making when it comes to employee branding?
Yeah, employer branding is very important in the general marketplace. For us, it's a little bit of a disadvantage. The reason for that is as a recruiting firm, as a third party, essentially marketing arm for your company, the less people know about your company, the more effective we can be. So if you're a big brand name, if you've got a giant reputation out there, or you're just a known for, offering the best salaries or the best PTO, typically you've got a line of candidates outside your door that could be miles long. And so a company like doesn't have a lot of value to add. And so what we're really good at is finding those companies that have a great company, a great culture, but maybe not the biggest reach or the biggest reputation out there, and help them attract people that wouldn't even know that they existed if it wasn't for us.
Yeah, yeah, it's so important these days, isn't it, to have a good employer branding? It's even if they're small business, it's so important to have
Right.
that, and the right messaging as well. I think is extremely important for the branding as well. With AI, are you using it for lead generation? Are you using it for resume tracing? That's all.
Yeah, good question. So AI is a big topic these days, and there's a lot of different ways that different recruiting firms are rolling that out. For us, we're still a people first business. So as far as lead generation, we've got a killer sales team on the phone all day reaching out to employer clients. I feel like that actually separates us out from a lot of other recruiting firms who are maybe trying to shortcut the process. Personally, I feel like that's a little bit lazy and not an approach that we look to take. Internally, though, a lot of different tools. So ChatGPT is obviously a language model, not quite AI, but we're using that to write our ads. We've got anywhere from 120 to 140 different positions available. Writing all of those ads would be basically impossible. So having ChatGPT curate those ads for us, and then we've got a process internally that they can be QA'd before they're placed online. That's one way that we're using it internally. We have another tool we're using, Microsoft Syntex. And the idea with that tool is that it can extract information from resumes. We've got an internal CRM. We're really trying to move away from kind of a paper company and be purely digital. And so when you've got 100, 2, 3, 400 resumes that you're inputting into your CRM on any given week, we need some sort of tool to extract out the main pieces of information that we need to search. And so we're using a Microsoft product to pull the names, the locations, the email addresses, and put them into a SharePoint where the resumes are then organized and categorized by industry type. And so it's much, much more effective for us to be able to dip in there and find a candidate that we had talked to 4, 5, 6 months ago, and not have to go through paper notes or paper resumes. Beyond that, we're using Microsoft Power Automate. Obviously, it's not an AI tool, but it's been a great, great resource for our company as far as workflow, right? So when a job order gets written, you got to write an ad. The ad's got to get placed in 10, 12 different places. Then when those candidates come in, they have to be divided up and sent to the right people. And so anytime that you're spending dealing with admin, you're not on a phone talking to a customer, you're not on the phone talking to a client. And so all of those tools and processes has helped us do that better. Essentially just be on a phone more.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And where do you see AI taking recruitment over the next few years?
AI is crazy. Cell phones are crazy. I get advertised to all the time on my different like Instagram reels or whatnot. And the big one that I'm seeing are literally AI recruiters. So they have these good looking people that look like real people who supposedly will find you a candidate, interact with that candidate, interview that candidate, and then send you the notes. So I think that that's a direction that people are trying to take it. Whether or not it goes there, we will see. And if you believe it's going to go there, maybe make an investment into those types of companies. I'm not quite sure. I know that every time I even call a restaurant or maybe like my barber shop and they're using an AI tool to answer the phone, it can be pretty frustrating. It's AI. You're not always getting where you want to go. On the rare occasion that you do get a good experience, it's memorable. And the fact that a good experience is memorable just means that it's rare. So until that interaction gets pretty much perfect, it's not something we're really looking to deploy. I still think that rapport is a massive part of what we do. And I just don't see how an AI or a fake person can build rapport with a candidate and understand the nuances of the decision they make. I've made a kind of hyperbolic statement most of my career. And I say, the three biggest choices that you're going to make in life is what God you choose to worship, what person you choose to marry, and what profession or career that you're going to pursue. And so not having someone that you can build rapport with and work through the emotional decision of changing jobs or changing careers, I just don't know how it works. We'll see. Hopefully, I'm not the guy that's left in the dust by other companies utilizing these robots. But for now, I'm not sold.
Yeah, I was actually on a demo the other day, and I got interviewed by an AI avatar. It was an interesting experience. It
How
was
was it?
yeah, it was good. It was better than I thought it was. Yeah, you're very realistic. She asked me a lot of kind of questions I didn't think she'd ask, and the response rate was really good. Yeah, I mean, again, I think it will work for certain recruitment companies, but yeah, some it won't. I don't think.
I could see how if you were an internal recruiter or maybe like a captive recruiter working for a specific company, that right now that would be really great for like initial screens, getting
Yeah,
through the candidates who maybe don't have perfect qualifications or maybe fabricated their resume a little bit. For what we do, Sam, we're interviewing a candidate and then looking to take that person potentially multiple directions. And so often Career Pass is utilizing what we've called the zero based interview, which really means that we're interviewing you for zero jobs. And what that helps us do is figure out exactly what you've done and what you want. With no bias, right? Somebody who's in a really tough situation, maybe down on their luck, has never fixed a car in their life. All of a sudden, they're interviewing for an auto mechanic job and they know everything about Hondas and Toyotas, right? But the reality is that they don't. And so when we do our zero based interview, until that robot is essentially perfect, I think it would be really hard for it to perform the same kind of interview that we perform. Whereas if we had kind of a routine set of questions that we asked every single candidate every single time, I could definitely see how that would save time and improve efficiency.
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. I also came across another study saying networking drives like 70% of hires. How are you coaching your candidates to adapt to that reality?
Yeah, it actually used to be even higher than that. When I first got into recruiting, only 5% of people got their jobs from job boards. 90% of them got it from somebody they either know or have worked with in the past. And so that's a difficult situation for us, right? Because the more that our candidate is looking on their own, the more competition we have, which creates a little bit of an internal conflict because obviously we want to earn the fee. But at the same time, we don't want to prevent that candidate from getting the best possible job. Essentially, our goal is to produce something better and faster than they can find on their own. So, having that information is useful in a couple different ways, right? When we get a candidate that we can't help, not because they're not essentially or necessarily a good candidate, but because they're somebody who we don't really have an opportunity for, then letting them know, hey, networking is going to be your best path. Here's a couple different sites like meetup.com or even Reddit groups or different Facebook groups. There's probably a group of like-minded individuals out there that would welcome you. Sharing that information with those candidates so that they leave calls with us feeling like they at least got some sort of information that will help them in their job search. It's useful in that sense. But as far as our business, right? The networking thing doesn't really apply. It's our network that we're utilizing that those candidates are taking advantage of, right? We've spent 10, almost 20 years now curating and building a large network of employers who trust us and believe us when we give them a phone call. So for a candidate who might not have an established network, that's another reason that we're a great resource is because we do, right? And if you're the right candidate at the right time, you can then leverage our network.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
sounds amazing. And what about kind of salary transparency these days? Are your clients being upfront about pay, or are candidates still
Yeah,
having to dig through
absolutely. So,
data?
a couple things. Washington State is where we reside, and we have some laws around here around salary transparency. I believe they need to be posted in every single ad. So, a candidate is almost never applying to a job without knowing what that salary is. For us, when we do a zero based interview, one of the things that we're trying to figure out is exactly what salary range you're targeting. That way, when we make presentations to employers or we let the employer know that you're available, we're sharing with them your salary history and what your expectations are. So very rarely do, our clients meet without having some understanding around the salary. There are of course surprises. I cannot tell you over 17 years how many times I've communicated to a client that this candidate needs X number of dollars and they still come in under. That does happen, but it's less because we're often setting that expectation right out of the gate, right after or right before the first interview. We don't even want them interviewing our candidates if they're not comfortable with their price range.
Makes sense. And what's the number one thing would you say that's hurting candidates' chances right now? Is it their resume, networking? Was it something
I think
else?
it's mindset. I think that a lot of people believe it's doom and gloom. As long as I've been in business, I've heard about how bad of an economy it is. And I mean, it's been a great economy, it's been a down economy, but consistently, I always hear the phrase, well, in this economy, well, in this economy. So I think a lot of it's mindset. I think if you start with the belief that it's not going to work, that ultimately you'll prove yourself right. It's not an easy process securing a new job, but there's more job boards available than ever. There are more ways to get larger networking groups. Like I said, meetup.com, Reddit, Facebook, LinkedIn groups. There are more search firms available than ever before. And so, as far as sheer numbers, it's probably actually easier than ever to get a job. Personal experience, our society is becoming less social, right? More digital, more behind the screens. And so I think the people with the biggest advantage are the ones that still have that old school methodology of just getting out there, meeting people, having conversations, and essentially asking, hey, what do you got going on at your company? Do you have any open positions? Can I throw you my resume? So if I was a candidate and I was looking for work, I wouldn't rely solely on a digital experience. I wouldn't be just applying to job boards. I wouldn't just be scouting company websites. I would be getting out there, meeting people, and trying to create those face-to-face interactions that still have a ton of value.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I suppose as well with CVs, LinkedIn is also so important now, isn't it, for candidates to have that up to date and to have that their messaging and their what they kind of post to be so important now.
Yeah, LinkedIn can be your best friend or your worst nightmare, right? So for
Right.
some candidates out there whose resumes don't quite match their LinkedIn, that can become a big problem for them, right? I know a lot of headhunters, recruiters, or even HR managers are looking at the resume, looking at LinkedIn and saying, hey, there's a job on here that isn't on the other one. And then that's going to create some curiosity or some unknowns. I mean, as we know, humans don't like unknowns, right? And so that'll prevent you from moving forward. LinkedIn will give you access to a lot more people. But another thing that's happening with LinkedIn is it's becoming very vocal, especially around election time. You see a lot of people sharing personal opinions on whatever subject they're super passionate about. And it's just really important to know that that stuff's public. And whether you're right, whether you're wrong, whether for it's a good cause or a bad cause, it's going to have an impact on somebody in some way. And so personally, I think that LinkedIn can be a really great tool for networking, connecting with people you wouldn't otherwise be able to find. But it could also be a disadvantage if you're incredibly opinionated on there and or your LinkedIn history doesn't match your resume.
Yeah. So it
Yeah.
can hurt or harm you for sure.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
what's next for career paths? Have you got anything exciting in the pipeline?
We've got so much going on right now. So recently we launched a resume service partnership with a great guy named Tim Mazur up in Canada. We get asked all the time if we create resumes. We don't. We're not in the business of turning a candidate into something they're not. But for people who are looking for resume creation services, we did that partnership. We've expanded recently into projects and consultation work. So we brought on an advisor who's got a long history dealing with managed service contracts, project management, or long-term contracts. And so my business partner, Andre Taylor, also the founder of Career Paths, has been really, really focused on getting us into that space. We're looking to pick up 3 to 5 year contracts with some of the larger players in the area and take advantage of our 17 years of recruiting for being able to find different types of profiles and get some reoccurring revenue. In addition to that, we're always expanding. We're hiring new salespeople. We're hiring new recruiters. We've launched a whole bunch of different tools internally for the reorganization of resume storage. We've got a whole entire CRM that's been custom built for us. One of the things that we really, really are trying to focus on is how do we stay on the phone with a candidate or an employer? And one of the processes that takes a really long time internally is matching your candidates to the different job opportunities that you have. And so we've got some different tools we're deploying internally to do keyword matches to make that just way faster. Essentially, we want to be able to put our notes and resume into a database and have it tell us, hey, here's 8 to 10 jobs that this person would be qualified for. So we're advancing in our technology, we're advancing in our offering, we're advancing in our knowledge. We're improving our employee experience. And so pretty much if there's a way to improve right now, Career Pass is focused on it.
Exciting stuff. So can you tell our audience how they can connect with yourself and also find out a bit more about career
Yeah,
paths?
so careerpassnorthwest.com. You can search it on Google. You'll find us there. We rank pretty well. I'm on LinkedIn, Tim Murphy, Career Pass Northwest. There's a few Tim Murphys out there, but only one at Career Pass Northwest. I've got a pretty big following on LinkedIn, but I'm always answering questions. I'm always responding to anybody who wants to reach out to me there. Not big on the Instagram, not big on TikTok, not big on Facebook, but the professional platform of LinkedIn and through my website, I can be found. My email, tmurphy@careerpassnw.com is open and available for anybody who has questions or interest in how to grow a recruiting firm. And so you can reach me there, and I'd be happy to help anybody in any way possible.
Brilliant. Thanks, Tim. Appreciate your time today.
Appreciate you, Sam. Thank you.